This is Jennifer Toth, and she looked at hemispheric dominance as it relates to positive or negative recall. And Jennifer's research was also invited to be presented in Chicago at the competitive MPA conference.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny. So I want to give you a background really quick on why I chose the topic that I did. So I believe that my topic, hemispheric dominance, as it relates to positive or negative recall, can fit into the field of positive psychology, which I learned about in Dr. Wyszynski's psycho-adjustment class. And what I learned was that most psychology focuses on fixing the conditions that we see rather than preventing them in the first place. And positive psychology looks more at the conditions and processes that enable people to thrive. So basically, what do happy and healthy people have and do that most other people do not. And then you can implement what you learn from those to prevent the negative circumstances in the first place, hopefully. So not many studies have been conducted yet in the field of positive psychology, and I really wanted to add to that. So that's my logic. And my history. So laterality is defined as the division of labor between two hemispheres of the brain. So you have the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, and it's connected by your corpus callosum. And each hemisphere controls separate functions. Current psychological studies have found that positive emotions tend to be more processed in the left hemisphere of your brain, and negative emotions more in the right hemisphere of your brain. So if you're happy and processing those good, happy emotions and you're in the left hemisphere, they think it may be easier for you to recall happy memories. As opposed to people that are negative or sad and they're in the right hemisphere of the brain, they will find it easier to recall more negative or upsetting memories. Paul Broca really laid the foundation for studies on lateralization about 155 years ago. He was a French surgeon, and he had two main patients who didn't have the ability to speak very well. His first patient was Le Brené, and he had lost his speech under unknown circumstances. He was only able to say the word tan, and he could change the inflection in his voice, but he couldn't form any other words or phrases. When he passed away, they performed an autopsy on his brain. They found a lesion in the left hemisphere. His second patient was named Li Long, and she had a stroke when she was 85, so she could only say 5 words, 2 of which she still mispronounced. And when she passed away, another autopsy was performed, and they again found a lesion in the left hemisphere of the brain. So after 4 more years of study to provide additional support, he then concluded that language is controlled in the left hemisphere. As studies continued on lateralization, we found that our brains are contralateral, which basically means they're cross-wired. So the left hemisphere of your brain is going to control the right side of your body, and the right hemisphere is going to control the left side of your body. Approximately 90% of the population is right-handed, meaning they're going to use more of the left side to control their right side. And then 10% of the population is left-handed, so they're using the right side of their brain to control the left side. And then they found that 1% of the population is truly ambidextrous. And if you're ambidextrous, you're not lateralized to one side or the other. So the information is going to bounce back and forth between your corpus callosum to either side. And there's one advantage to that, which it increases your creativity level. But there are 2 disadvantages, which is it opens you up to possible mental dysfunction and lower IQ scores. So this shows that having distinct functions and the division of labor between both hemispheres improves your overall cognitive ability and performance. And then the American Psychological Association found that men tend to be more left-handed than women, so they are predominantly right-brained. In a study at the University of Oxford, they found that 10% of the female population was left-handed, while 12% of the men's population was left-handed. And they gave 2 theories for why this could be. One is left-handed folks tend to have larger corpus callosums, so it could just point to a developmental difference between males and females. Men just have larger corpus callosums. Or 2, that testosterone accelerates right hemisphere development. Price then conducted a study on lateralization, and he wanted to look at the gender differences between hemispheric dominance. And so what he did was he put 10 females and 10 males in an fMRI machine and put 5 objects scattered around the top. And then when those objects were removed, they were asked to recall where those objects were. And while they were in the fMRI machine, he was able to see which hemisphere they used. Results showed that women had more left brain lateralization and men more right brain. Handedness is also related to memory, and what Lyle, McCabe, and Roediger found was that individuals who did not display strong right-handedness, meaning they were left-handed, found it easier to recall items from a random word list on a free recall test, more accurately recall recent autobiographical events, and recall earlier childhood memories. So basically there's a slight edge to being left-handed when it comes to recalling memories without any sort of external cues. Lastly, Root, Wong, and Kinsborn conducted a study using chimeric faces. What they asked the participants to do was identify whether the face was happy or upset as quickly as possible. And they showed 10 faces. They would answer whether it was positive or negative, and then they switched the buttons. So if the positive button was on the right-hand side, now it's on the left, and vice versa for the negative. And then they showed another 10 faces. What they found was that when subjects were required to identify happy faces with their right hand and angry faces with their left, their reaction times were on average 32 milliseconds faster than when the key assignments were reversed. This just shows that the right hemisphere had more involvement with identifying the negative faces, and the left hemisphere had more involvement with identifying the happy faces. So, based on all of this history, it was hypothesized from my study that when in a neutral emotional state, those that are left brain dominant will recall a greater number of positive memories, while those that are right brain dominant will recall a greater number of sad or upsetting memories. It was also hypothesized that females would be more likely than males to recall positive memories since they tend to be more right-handed than left-handed. So the participants from my study consisted of 100 undergraduate students from a small Midwestern college, 57 of which were male and 43 were female. Of the 100 participants, 85 were white, 10 were African American, 2 were Latino, and 3 identified as other. So, the procedure for my study first began with the consent form and the demographics form. My demographics form is just 6 questions, basically race, age, sex, major, things such as that. Following that, they took the Edinburgh Handedness Inventory, which would tell me if they were right or left-handed, which would then indicate if they were more right or left brain dominant. Once that was collected, they watched a 5-minute YouTube video, which was basically just changing colors and relaxing music, and that was used to put them in a relaxed and neutral emotional state. Immediately following the video, they were given the brief mood introspection scale, and that was just to assure that they were not feeling one emotion too excessively, such as very happy or very angry or sad. Lastly, they were given the memory survey, which I created, to determine whether they were more apt to recall positive or negative memories. So the Edinburgh Handedness Inventory is very reliable, very widely used since its creation in 1971. I used the version that was 20 questions long. The most common one floating around the internet is only 10 questions, but you'll find that the more questions you have, the more accurate your results will be. So I wanted to use the longer version, and it basically just asked which hand they tend to use to complete everyday tasks. Again, it was used to determine which hemisphere was more dominant. It looks like this. This is just the 10-question one, but it had the same 10 questions on the version that I used. So it asks basically writing, drawing, throwing, using a toothbrush, using scissors, which hand would they use more often. If they were right-handed, you would put a plus in the right column, same if you were left-handed. But if, say you were right-handed and that preference was so strong that you would never use your left hand unless absolutely forced to, you could put 2 pluses in the right-hand column. And then if you were ambidextrous, you would put 1 in each. So for scoring, if they were completely right-handed, they would have a positive 40. If they were completely left-handed, they would have a negative 40. And if you were ambidextrous, you would have a 0. And then you could range on that scale. The brief mood introspection scale was only 16 questions long, and it asked questions basically on 4 subscales ranging from pleasant to unpleasant, aroused to calm, positive to tired, and negative to relaxed. Again, this was just to make sure that they were in a neutral emotional state, not feeling one emotion too excessively. It looked like this. These were the 16 emotions that they could feel, and it basically lively, happy, sad, gloomy, and it ranges from definitely do not feel to definitely feel. And then at the bottom here, they could rate their overall mood, which was from negative 10, very unpleasant, to 10, very pleasant. I ultimately ended up just using what they scored their overall mood to be. And then for the memory recall assessment survey, I created it. It was 15 questions long. 4 were short answer and 11 were Likert scale. and it determined if memories were more positive or negative. The reason I decided to start, I didn't put a picture up of the short answer, but basically the short answer were the same questions as the first couple of Likert scale questions. So I would say describe your earliest memory, or describe your first middle school memory, something like that. The logic behind that was I thought if they could write a short answer, they would write their initial gut instinct, so the very first memory that came to mind. And then they would later go on and rate that. As opposed to if I just asked Likert questions, you could kind of sift through and pick maybe your favorite memory and rate that one. So I wanted to have their honest first reaction. And then they would rate it on a scale of mostly negative to mostly positive. And the more positive you were, the higher your memory score was. The more negative you were, the lower your memory score was. So once all my data was collected, I ran a correlation and an independent t-test. So a correlation is used to show whether two variables are related. In this case, it was handedness and memory. I expected to see a positive correlation, meaning as one variable increased, the other also increased, between right-handedness and their memory score. So as right-handedness increased, they had a larger positive memory score. And then I also expected to see a negative correlation between left-handedness and memory score, meaning as left-handedness increased, memory score would decrease. And then the independent t-test was used to determine whether men or women were happier overall. And these were the results of the correlation. So highlighted in green are my significant results. And if you look, it's happiness and memory were significantly correlated. The 0.320 up here has double stars, and if you look at the bottom, it says double stars means correlation is significant at the 0.01 level. So that was significant. And then if you look at the second row, significance here, 0.001, it has to be below 0.05 to be significant, and it was well below 0.05. Handedness and memory over in this section did not have any sort of relationship or correlation. The significance was 0.952, so not below 0.05. So there was no relationship there. But the correlation between memory and happiness proves that as happiness increases, their memory score also increases. This relates back to what I said in the very beginning in history. Basically, it supported their hypothesis that if you are happy, you may find it easier to recall positive memories. And then the results of the independent t-test. If you look up at the mean area, I took the average of the female happiness scores and then the average of the male's happiness scores. Females were at 6.5581 and males only at 5.1228. So this proved that my hypothesis about females being overall happier was accurate. And then the significance at 0.029 here, this is what had to be below 0.5, and it was. So that was significant. Just to wrap it up, again, there was no relationship between handedness and memory like I had expected, but we did find very significant results between happiness and memory. So as happiness increased, your memory score would increase. It was highly significant at 0.001, and then same for women. They were significantly happier than the men. Highly significant, proved my second hypothesis. That's great. And then a limitation or change that I believe should be made in the future. I have two changes. One is adding a social desirability scale. When one is trying to be socially desirable, they're going to try to give the researcher what they believe they're looking for instead of the truth, or what they believe will make them look good to the researcher. So if you add a social desirability scale, you can take into account how likely those participants are to just give you what you're looking for. I found that when people were doing my memory survey, they would write out their initial memory, and then when they were asked to rate it, go back, erase their original memory, write a different one, and rate that one. So they were trying to, kind of maybe rate a more positive memory. Secondly, another way to put the participants in a neutral mood should be attempted, because while the video did work for many of the participants, they reported feeling a 0, which is perfectly neutral. There were still some outliers who were all the way at positive 10 or even close to negative 10. So if they could find a way to maybe make everybody more in the neutral state and prevent prevent the outliers, you can get more accurate results from it. And that's it. Questions? Yeah.
Excellent work. I have one question, with the mood scale that you have, did you correlate that with any of your other variables at all, or?
So the mood scale.
Or maybe just like qualitatively kind of notice if they seem different on any of the other scores?
Well, I correlated, the mood scale correlated with handedness, memory, and happiness. So,
Oh, okay, so that was the same as the happiness?
yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
That I basically took their scores that they rated their overall mood is their happiness.
As their happiness. Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I didn't.
Oh, no, that's okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. Because you said that here, you're good. And then could you describe the video a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. It was basically just like, I want to say like what they would play during yoga, like that sort of relaxing music, just instrumental, no words or anything. And then there was, I should have put a clip in, but it was basically just like a ball of light that kept moving and changing colors, and it would sometimes get bigger and sometimes get smaller. So it was basically just a really relaxing